Acharya Leila ji will lead us in today's discourse.
Hariom. And a warm welcome to all of you this Sunday morning. And a special thank you to Rich for so ably conducting satsang in Acharyaji's absence. Acharyaji's in Chicago, Saya, and we friends and blessings to you as you celebrate your birthday. Your birthday was on Friday, but today you've chosen, you and Amit, you've chosen to sit to do the puja. And of course, your Aji sang a beautiful song, and we should look at it briefly. It says, Tujhe suraj kahu ya chanda, Tujhe deepak kahu ya tara, Mera naam karega roshan jag mein, Mera raj lai. Should I call you my child, my sun or moon, a lamp or a star? I know that you will make my name shine, my child. And then, as we go along, it says, today I hold your finger to teach you how to walk. Tomorrow, when I will have become old and unable to walk, you will become my walking stick. In having you, I have found new support for my old age. And more importantly, after my death, of course, we all have to leave this world at some time. After my death, my child, my name should still shine in this world. Why? Anyone seeing you will call my name, and I will be born anew in your body. So, you know, the tradition of Sanatana Dharma, Vedic Sanatana Dharma, is thousands of years old. These traditions that we practice today, namely coming to satsang, singing bhajans, doing havan, reading the scriptures, these are sadhanas or spiritual practices that have been practiced for thousands of years. And today we can sit in this beautiful mandir, this beautiful ashram, and continue to practice those. This is the power of the tradition of Sanatana Dharma. As a matter of fact, when we say the prayer, Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunatu Saha Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavade. When we say Om Sahana Bhavatu, we are saying that we're praying to God. And this mantra is the peace invocation or Shanti mantra that's taken from the Katha Upanishad, which we should look at briefly today. The Katha Upanishad is taken from the Krishna Yajurveda. And it tells us when we chant this mantra, Om Sahana Bhavatu, may this knowledge of the Guru Shishya Parampara be passed down, unchanged, unadulterated from Guru to student. And this is what we do here at Bhuvaneshwar Mandir. The scriptures, our shastras, are taught in the tradition of the Guru Shishya Parampara. My Acharya that I studied with, Swami Bodhamananda, he studied with his guru. So everything that he has learned from his guru, he has taught to me in a way that has not changed. He has kept the intrinsic value of our scriptures. And this is why this tradition of ours, Sanatana Dharma, is the longest known tradition in the world. So many traditions have come long after Sanatana Dharma, or Hinduism, which it is popularly known as. So many traditions have come after, and so many other traditions have only lasted for a short time. But the Vedic Sanatana Dharma tradition of Sanatana Dharma, even the word tells the power of it. Sanatana means eternal, and Dharma is what is right, how life should be lived. So when we sing this song to our children, we're telling them about this tradition. Today, science actually is saying that, oh my child, now I'm holding your hand, Acharya, and bringing you to Bhuvaneshwar Mandir, to this beautiful mandir. And one day, when I grow old, Saya, you will hold my hand. This is the tradition that when your children, our parents and grandchildren take care of us, and when we grow old, when we are unable to walk and do things for ourselves, our children and our grandchildren will help us. Isn't that beautiful? You know, long ago, not so long ago, in the generation of my parents and those who from my generation, we've seen our parents take care of their parents, our grandparents. There comes a time in life when we have to begin to detach from this world, and that begins to happen in the ashram that's called Vanapras. And we hand our business or our wealth or our upkeep of the home to our children, so that we're allowed the opportunity to focus on our spiritual growth. That is our tradition. Unfortunately or fortunately today, you know, sometimes you find parents live away from their children due to circumstances. But even if kids, you know, who are now adults, live away from us, they must continue to look over us and make sure that all our needs are met. As a matter of fact, when I was in India with Acharya Ji, Shanta Ji, and Iron Comedy in May, we met our Acharya, our Acharya was Acharya Swami Advayananda. And one of the advices he gave to Acharya Arun Ji is that no matter what you do with your life and where you go, always make sure that your mother is taken care of. That is our tradition. So our kids have a responsibility. Now, before I continue with the two mantras from the Kathoka Upanishad, when we had our Yes program last Sunday, after our Yes meeting last Sunday, after satsang, some instructions were given. Now, the first question at that meeting was, what did Acharya Ji discuss in his Pravachan this morning? And do you know, I'll say sadly, nobody could remember 2 hours after, or 1 hour after the message Acharya gave in his Pravachan. And so the instruction was given last Sunday at the Yes meeting in preparation for the commencement of the Yes program this coming Saturday, January 17th. What was that instruction, Mukesh? Take the mic and sing.
You have to start taking notes during satsang.
How do you take notes?
You have to get a pen and a paper or pencil and paper.
Yes, phones are not allowed. Every Yes child, that includes Ishan, okay? You don't come to the Yes program for whatever reason. You probably have other things to do. But every child who comes to the Yes program, right, Lucas? You weren't there last Sunday. But every child who comes to the Yes program must, on Sunday mornings, have a pen and a notebook, not paper, a notebook. I have my notebook. Of course, I'm giving the Pravachan today, but in this notebook is Acharya's Pravachan from last week. In this notebook will be recorded every Pravachan. Now there is a reason for that. And that reason is that if we do not write the Pravachan, if we do not write the message, are we going to remember? No. Absolutely not. You know why? Because as soon as satsang is finished, we all get up and we begin to talk about everything other than what took place here during satsang. And when we do that, and the mind is distracted, how can we remember? So if we write it, then we can reflect on it during the week. And in last week's Pravachan, taken from Uttarakhand, Doha, 48, Guru Vasishtha said that spiritual practices, namely prayer, yoga, uniting with God. Yoga is not just postures. Yoga in spirituality means uniting with God, establishing a firm relationship with God. A meditation, seva, serving, learning, studying the scriptures must be part of our lives. As a matter of fact, it is the most important part of our lives. We go to school to learn how to read and write. Unfortunately, statistics show that many children do not even know how to read. We can read literally. We can read the words. The cow paid diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. This is a poem I read when I was a child. So if you don't belong to my generation, you wouldn't know it. Or I wonder why the grass is green and why the wind is never seen. A beautiful poem that the kids learned in the Yes program. We can read the words, but how well informed, how intelligent are we that we can actually understand the implied meaning of the message? And in the tradition of Sanatana Dharma, our scriptures are understood two ways. We can read it just as a story, or we can understand the implied meaning. What the message is that is taught in the scriptures. And this is what we do on Saturday mornings at the YES program. We teach the kids how to read. They don't do this in school. You know, I went to college. I have a degree in literature, English literature and philosophy. And it was a lot of reading. I attended Baruch College. But it wasn't until I went to India and I studied the scriptures under the guidance and tutelage of my Acharya, Swami Bodhiatmananda, that I actually learned how to read and understand what I'm reading. And I was like, why didn't somebody teach me this before? Why isn't this taught in school? To the extent that it is taught in the Hindu scriptures, in our Shastras. So it is important that we come to satsang. It is important that we seek every opportunity to study the scriptures under the guidance of qualified Guru Brahmana. And one of the first things that we're taught, that in a class, if we want to grasp what is said, we must look at the speaker. If you do not look at the teacher, whether it's in the classroom at school or here, you wouldn't remember, you would not have heard a word that was spoken. And if you didn't hear the message, you would not understand it. And if you don't understand it, you wouldn't remember it. And the concepts and lessons that are taught during satsang are actually disciplines for life. It's how we should behave in this world, how to think, how to reason, how to behave, how to make choices. These are not taught in the classroom, and even if they're taught out there, they're taught by people who do not know. They're misinformed. Here, everything that is taught is based on the truth. So traditions in Sanatana Dharma is very important. And today we're celebrating the tradition of this knowledge being passed down from generation to generation. And so I want to applaud Aji. She comes every Sunday. And guess what? She brings her grandchildren. They're usually Saya and Amit. They're usually the first to arrive, one of the first to the YES program. Starts at 8 o'clock. They come, 9 o'clock. They come before 9 o'clock. We need to have that kind of enthusiasm when we wake up first thing in the morning. If we don't have enthusiasm, if we don't make a connection with that life, which is a manifestation of God inside of us, our lives will lack purpose, and if it lacks purpose, it's going to lack enthusiasm. So we have to get excited. So today, with the little time left, it's already 11 o'clock, but the microphone was handed to me late, so I should reclaim my 10 minutes. Okay. So today we're going to look at the first two mantras. We saw the Shanti mantra of Kathopanishad. What's the Shanti mantra of Kathopanishad?
Sahanau bhavatu sahanau punatu sahaviryam karvavai
Very good.
tejasvinamanitam ma vidvishavane.
Ma vidvishavane means, may the teacher and I never have any disagreements. Sometimes the teacher has to scold us. We were scolded in India. Sometimes, not me, I'm always the teacher's pet, but the young people, when they didn't show up for the chanting at 5:30, or they didn't write their notes, or they didn't answer a question, they were asked to stand outside the classroom. Nobody wants to be asked to stand outside the classroom. And when the teacher scolds us, when Acharya sits there and he calls somebody out, not because it makes him happy, because he has your best interest at heart. We must not get perturbed, or we must not feel offended. We must take it in good grace. So in Katha Upanishad, after the Shanti Mantra, it begins with two beautiful mantras that actually give two very powerful messages. The word Katha Upanishad, there are actually two words, Katha, Ka, and Upanishad. Katha means story, and Upanishad means self-knowledge. So the Katha Upanishad, which really is not read, Acharya chooses Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana because they're simpler to understand. But for advanced students of Vedanta, like Priya, who's been studying with me for a couple of years, and Shantaji, they're actually currently studying Katha Upanishad using Shankara Bhashya in Sanskrit, so that we can understand the deeper meaning. They would have seen that in the first line of Shankara Bhashya, in Katha Upanishad, it says, Tatra Acharya Vidyastuti Artha. It means that Katha Upanishad, this story, this katha, is being given in praise of Brahma Vidya, of Brahma Vid. So we've heard the word stuti before. Stuti is a short prayer, isn't it? Isn't it? Stuti, we say prayers all the time. They're stutis praising who? God. So in this case, in Katha Upanishad, that this story, whether it's true or not, is irrelevant. What is important is that this story gives us a very powerful message. It's giving us, it's praising Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the supreme reality, which is all, okay, which is all. And it doesn't stop there. It tells us that there is a oneness, an essential oneness between myself, the self in me, and that all. And it's expressed in Brahma, Jiva, Aikya. There is a oneness between us and God. And this is, the Shastras doesn't only tell us this, it teaches us how to realize that oneness. And currently, a text that's being taught to some of students who study with me is Vakya Vritti. Vakya Vritti is a short statement, a short analysis of the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. So Tat is all of us, Tvam is all of us, the Jiva. And Tat is God. And see what is the essential oneness between us and God. So Brahma Vidya, which is being praised in this story, is a dialogue between a very young boy like Sai. And this is why I've chosen this. This young boy, he's only 9 years old. And due to circumstances, he found himself in the abode of Yamraj. Yamraj is the god of death. And they had a dialogue. But anyway, so the story begins that this Kathopanishad is being written in praise of the knowledge that's being disseminated from this asana. And this is why it is so important that not just the children, where is your paper? How would you remember? That all of us should have pencils and papers and notebooks. Except, of course, if you have a very good memory, like some of the adults have, that you can remember, that we can begin to reflect. Learning process happens in 3 stages. Can you say what they are? What are the 3 stages of learning? Okay, you go.
Look, listen, and learn. Or the 3 L's.
Listen, Shravana, Manana, keep reflecting after the message is given, and Nidhyasana, apply it to our lives. So everything we learn here is to be applied, it's relevant to our lives. So the first mantra says, Om Ushan Havai Vajashravasava Sarva Veda Samdadao Tasya Nachiketa Nama Putra Asa. So once there was a father, his name was Vajashravasava. And he decided, as he was entering into the 3rd stage of life, which is Vanaprastha Ashram. You know there are 4 stages of life. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. So this father, he was entering into the 3rd stage of life. And he decided to hold what is called the Vishwajita sacrifice. It's a yajna. At this yajna, he was supposed, as part of the yajna, he invited priests and the brahmanas to the sacrifice. And he was supposed to, at the sacrifice, give gifts away to the priests and to the brahmanas. Okay, now, he got his name in 2 ways, and I'll be brief about that. One, from the work that he did. Some people milk cows, some people teach, right? Like, you know, and these names are given to us according to what our ancestors have done. But others get their name according to tradition. So 2 ways we can get our names. So it would be interesting for you to examine your last name. Will give you a good indication of the tradition of your family. So Vajashravasava, his father was Vajashrava. Vajashrava got his name because he had a soup kitchen. He gave dhanam away. He gave charity in the form of food to people. So a word for food is vajam, food, vajashravasava. And so his son continued the tradition. Now the son is entering into 50, and he decided that he's going to now begin to become detached. So, you know, it has to be said that he couldn't leave his family without any, you know, means to take care of himself. So he gave his family some, and he's giving some of his wealth away. But when he was giving his wealth away, guess what? His son, who was 9 years old, like son, he was looking on, and he saw what his father was doing as the gifts in the form of cows were being brought to the brahmanas and the priests. He saw the nature of the gifts, and so that is spoken of in the 2nd mantra. It says, Tagam Kumaragam Santam Dachinasu, Niyamanasu, Shraddha, Vishesha, So Manyata. So when he saw these kids that were being given away, he, for a young boy, he started thinking. Now the cows, we're told in the third mantra, they couldn't give milk anymore. They couldn't drink any more water. They had eaten their last blade of grass. So in other words, he saw his father giving the worst of his flock as gifts to the Brahmanas. And he thought, he was only 9, he was like Saya, Isabella, Amar, Aditya, Adesh, and all these young kids that come to DM. And he was thinking, this is not right. I need to do something about it. And so guess what he did? He became anxious for his father because he thought, if this yajna is not done properly, if the brahmanas and the priests were not given appropriate gifts, in this case cows that can produce milk, eat grass, and give and produce calves, then something is wrong. The fruits of this yajna will not materialize. So he became very worried for the welfare of his father. He was only 9. He was a child. In the commentary on Shankara Bhasha, it is said he was in the Pratama Vayasam, he was in the first stage of life. He was a young boy, he was Kumaram. He could not even, he was not old enough to procreate. So he was extremely young, but yet he had this intuition, this wherewithal, this intelligence to realize that what his father was doing was not right. And so guess what? Just in case I'm not going to pull an Acharya on you and say, well, if you want to know more, come back. I'll tell you quickly what happened. So when he saw his father was not giving the appropriate gifts at the young age, and this is a wake-up call for all of us when we give gifts of any sort to anybody, especially when we do these yajnas and pujas and you invite the priest, make sure you give a gift that is appropriate. Okay? So, when Nachiketa, the son, who was just 9 years old, saw this, and because he became alarmed for the welfare of his father, he said to his father, "Father, I am also your possession. To whom will you give me?" He said, "To whom will you give me? You should also give me away. I am part of your possession. You should not be attached to me. Give me away." And he said, the first time, father ignored him. He said it the second time, Dvitiyam. The second time, his father ignored him, continued to give the same weak cows that are at death's door to the priests and the Brahmanas. And Nachiketa became alarmed, and then he said it for the third time, "Father, to whom are you going to give me?" And the father, in haste, in anger, because he was being challenged by his young son, he said, "I give you to death." How many times don't we say things in these? We have to think before we speak, especially when we speak to our children, sometimes not because they're young, that they don't know. Sometimes they see things very clearly. And as parents, we have the responsibility when we bring kids into this world to study our kids' personality, how they think, how they behave, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and build on those. So this young boy was very different in his thinking from his father. His father thought, well, he can give, in a slipshod manner, he can give anything away and receive the same results, especially in the hereafter, life after death. But the boy became concerned for the welfare of his father and challenged him. And this is how Nachiketa ended up in the abode of Yama. And just, it's such a beautiful text. He got to Yama's abode, and of course the father immediately regretted it. And he got to Yama's abode, and he had to wait 3 days for Yama to come home. And Yamaraj was out doing his work, collecting the good souls. And when he came and he saw this Brahmana boy sitting at his doorstep without water, he became alarmed and very remorseful. And he said to Nachiketa, oh, I'm so sorry. So we should never hesitate to say sorry, even to a child, if the situation warrants it. Never be afraid to say, I'm sorry, I mean it. So Yamaraj, who is a Brahmaved Acharya, because he gave this knowledge in Kathopanishad, he said, I'm so sorry to make up for lack of hospitality of my own. I give you 3 boons. One of those boons was, so he said, ask me for 3 wishes. And Nachiketa says that my first wish is that when I go back to my father, that he will not be angry with me still. He will welcome me. He will be happy to welcome me back home. He should not be angry with me. The second is, whatever the second, but the third boon is that please give me self-knowledge or Brahmavid. And this young boy of 9 years old, he said, look, I want to know more about myself. I want to study the Shastras. Give me this knowledge so I can break this wheel of birth and death. And Yama said to him, oh no, please ask me for anything else, but I'm not going to give that to you. And then Nachiketa was insistent. He said, that's all I want, nothing else. And Yama said, I'm going to give you all the wealth on earth. He said, no way, nothing doing. Then he said, I'm going to give you all the happiness in heaven. And Nachiketa said, no way, nothing doing. He said, all I want is this knowledge of who I really am. Knowledge of my essential oneness with God. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, it is so inspirational. So when we look at these little kids, they are the generations of the future. They will be the ones that will take this great institution of Bhuvaneshwar Mandir forward. Let's keep Guruji's legacy alive. Let's keep the doors open. Okay, with the study of this knowledge and by coming to Bhuvaneshwar Mandir. So that being said, this Saturday at 9, from 9 to 1, The Yes program starts, it does exactly what the name means, Youth Empowerment Program. We empower the youths and adults for life, how to live life so that we can all be happy. And Acharya often gives us a challenge, the 5 children challenge. Find 5 children of your friends and your neighbors and your family and bring them on Saturday morning. This knowledge is so important to us as we step out into the transactional world, as we step out and engage in life. Without this knowledge, we are going to be like a boat without a rudder in the storms of life. And where are those storms? They're in our minds. The storms are not out there. The storms are not political. It is not social. It is not what my friend, but it is my ability to handle the world. And that's what the scriptures teach us. So let's all be like Acharya. Come first, lead last to lead. Always interested Acharya. As you saw, Acharya is entering into double digits. She's 10 years old, and as you celebrate your 10th birthday, we love you very much. You know that, right? You know, Bhuvaneshwar Mandir is the best place for you, right? Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for coming. You know, she's such a special child. I often watch her sit to do puja. And when she sits there, she's like an old head, an old soul in this young body. And she knows exactly what to do when she's sitting there. And she comes dressed appropriately again. And, you know, she's just very special. So as you celebrate your 10th birthday, we wish you a long, happy, healthy, and very spiritual life. Continue to listen to your Aji. Continue to come to Bhuvaneshwar Mandir, and this is for all of you. And one day, you will step out there and you will make this world a better place. So that's our message today. 1, let's be like Nachiketa. 2, let's be like Aji. Bring the kids to the temple and just have a wonderful life. Okay, so that's the message for today. Did you like it? Yeah. It's beautiful. Give yourself an applause if you, when you leave here, you remember this message and you apply it. Okay? So, all right.